What's up guys, this is Wenzes. Welcome back to my channel where we talk about creating an epic life on your terms. Today I want to talk to you about INFJ's dating. We know every personality type has its unique challenges when it comes to dating. And it's not just when you go out and you start dating again, or if you say I've been in a relationship for a long time and you want to change the dynamic. But particularly for INFJs, we have very unique challenges that most dating videos or advices just don't take under consideration. And I want to talk to you about exactly those unique traits, those unique things we have to look out for in order to create great relationships that we love and that fulfill us in the long term. Before we get started, I want to remind you, if you want to take the next step in creating your epic life, then work with me privately or join the bootcamp. All the information you find below. So why do INFJs have those unique challenges when it comes to dating? Mainly it's because we have the ability to absorb other people's emotional states. This is something we love to do. If you look at INFJ from an MBTI perspective, you know that INFJs are considered judgers because our first external function is FE, meaning extroverted feeling, which is a judging function. But we shouldn't neglect that our first function is a perceiving function. So every single time we get to relax, we want to be in our state of comfort, we go back to NI. And when we're in NI, we absorb absolutely everything that is in our environment. That can be a very good thing in relationships as well as in everything we do in life because it allows us to absorb all the positive things going on in our life. But the flip side is that specifically when you're dating, you're absorbing other people's emotional states and what they want to such an extent that they override your own preferences. And this happens so automatically, it happens so easily that we're not even aware of it. So what is the solution? Of course, we would say it's boundaries. It is. But boundaries is a very broad term. I'm not going to tell you, oh, you have to work on your boundaries. We all know that if you're an INFJ or you're not. But particularly when you get to know somebody or you say, I want to change the dynamic within my relationships, we have to be so aware of what we want, where we want to go, and how our partner or future potential partner can be part of that life. That's a huge shift to what we normally do, which is we see how we can fit into their world. We allow ourselves to start daydreaming about how our life could be with that person or how great our current relationship could be if the other person would just see our side. Most of the time, we don't know how to get out of that because it's really difficult to distinguish between what's really going on, what the other person wants, and what we want. So in order to make it more tangible, I'm going to talk about how to approach a new dating situation. But remember, you can definitely apply this to your relationship, even if it's been a relationship you've been in for decades, in order to change the dynamic in a way that makes you feel happy. So when you first go out and you start dating people, a lot of INFJs say that they don't find a happy relationship, that it's difficult for them to find a partner. And I was somebody just like this. I was probably single for 8 or 9 years before I got into my current relationship. And it was the time of my life where I really changed a lot of approaches I was taking in life. So the main thing I learned is that I have to be extremely hard with my boundaries in the beginning. It has to become to a point where you feel it's annoying. Sticking up for your boundaries is extremely hard, particularly in the beginning. Because when you meet somebody, there is no wiggle room here. What do most of us do? We hate the situation so much that we either fast forward and open up way too much, way too soon, as in we fall back into our natural state, which is NI, and we open up completely. We allow ourselves to absorb everything about the other person, not thinking about what the consequences are for us. Remember this, we don't like setting boundaries. Setting boundaries is going into FE mode, meaning stepping out of our introverted side and going into extrovert mode. This is hard. This is not our natural state. And as long as we don't accept this part, we're gonna have huge trouble in moving forward in that direction. But once we've understood that this is a necessary evil, and it's not an evil that you have to live by all the time, I now can relax, I can be comfortable around my partner, I can allow myself to fall back into NI mode where I daydream, where I don't worry about setting those boundaries. But the reason why I'm able to do that now and have the relationship that I want is because in the beginning I was so strict. And I can guarantee you, you can have 2 completely different relationships with the same person based on the fact how much you stuck to your own guns in the beginning. This is not something you should feel bad about because so many of us have this story in our mind that we keep saying to ourselves over and over again, which is, I want to be an open person. I'm a spiritual person. I don't want to be hard. Don't we all want to love each other and be there for each other and kind to each other? So why should I stick up for what is mine? Isn't that the opposite of everything I believe in? I know that's something I used to tell myself. Now I know better, because now I know that the longer I stick to my own thing and what I want out of the relationship, the bigger the chances are that this relationship can be something that is beneficial and fulfilling, not just to me, but to the other person as well. Because if you don't do this, what happens? You create passive aggressive behavior because that person didn't turn out to be the person that you want him to be. You didn't make him understand who you are and what you need out of that relationship. And it's not even the other person's fault, because you never ever told them. And it's important to understand that it's not just about the other person. It's not just, oh, it'll work out with this person and it won't work out with that person. You can have the exact same partner in your life and have a relationship dynamic that is really hurtful and stressful for you, where you feel like you're giving up all of yourself and you're focusing on the other person. And you can have a relationship where, as I said, you both are looking into your own future. You both have a path of where you want to go to, and you walk side by side towards that goal, which is individual for each one of us. So let's make this even practical. Before you even start going out on dates, you have to be very aware of what you want. There is no such thing as, okay, let's just see where this goes, if this is something I would want, and you pretty much allow the dynamic to happen by itself. You are killing the relationship right then and there. You're not giving the relationship the chance it deserves. You have to know who you want to be in that relationship, where you want to go in your life, and how that person can play a role in your life. Extremely important topic. This is something I completely neglected, and I see so many INFJs neglect it as well. And it's not so much because of the romantic part of it. This is what we keep telling ourselves. Oh, I saw that person, and then my thoughts just created this image of how great this could be, and I never took active part in creating that image before that person comes into my life. See the difference? On the one hand, you create this great image, this NI vision of how great this relationship could be after you meet that person. Meaning you're already taking into account the energy of the new person that you're meeting. On the other hand, you're creating a vision before that person is in your life, because this is the thing that is most authentically you. The moment the person steps into your life, you're already taking on their energy. And most of the time we fall prey to that energy, forget our own energy more and more if we don't have a plan of where we want to go. If we don't love our life, it's so much easier to start focusing completely on the other person, because that person looks like an escape for us. I used to be like this all the time. I remember the people I got obsessed with, they never lived in my city or in my country most of the time. They always had a completely different life and lifestyle than me, and it always seemed like my life would be exciting once I'm in their life. Once I have them, then everything would be great. And this is something we have to take care of beforehand. That person is never the image that we think they are. This is not fair towards them, and it's not fair towards us. We put these huge expectations on the other person, and we don't even see that. We create this codependent dynamic, and most of the time we pick out people subconsciously who need our validation. It's the perfect match between us being completely focused on that person and that person needing somebody else's focus in order to feel good about themselves. We are co-creating these relationships which we don't like. And remember, if your current relationship is going this way, don't worry. That doesn't mean that you cannot change this dynamic. You can change the dynamic completely by focusing where you want to go, where your life could be without that person, and then think about how that person fits into your life. It will mean that you will be in a relationship with a completely different person, so to say. It's still Jack next to us, it's still Anna, but that person really shows up completely differently. I mean, you've seen this where you meet somebody and you have an image of them, and the longer you know them, it's a completely different person. We all know that, because we never see the person for who they are. We always see the person for the way we want to see them and the way we are. We see them the way we are. It's always a unique perspective. And if we change, that means our perception of that person changes. You also have been in situations where you've been in a relationship with somebody and then you broke it off. And then no matter how you look at that person, after you've gotten over the relationship, it really seems like a different person. You don't even remember the person they used to be. This is a completely new life. That should tell you again, it is all in your head. So when we know that it has to start with us, that we have to know where we go, we make it very precise. So as I mentioned before, there is no let's see where this goes. What do you want? Do you want a long-term relationship with somebody who's also actively looking for a long-term relationship? If the answer is yes, then there's no reason to waste your time on people who don't know what they want. But if we don't know what we want, we keep our door open for people like this. And every single time there's somebody who's not really in our life, but it's not really out, is in the way of people coming in who could actually be our potential dream partner. Similarly, if you're in a relationship already, if you don't make a stand for what you want, you can never give the relationship the chance it has. But why don't we do this? Why don't we go out on dates and particularly say, well, I want a long-term relationship and I don't want to be the one who convinces you that now because of me you change your mind. We don't need that validation. I don't need that ego push and you don't either. We don't need to convince people who are not taking care of themselves that because of us, they will start caring about their own future. That is not the way to have a healthy relationship, and that is also not the way to convince our partner to take care of themselves. We cannot wait and nurture them and hope that one day they will figure out that first they should take care of themselves and that they should take care of our needs as well. We have to demand it. We have to say, if people who are not at that point where we want them to be, we have to be the ones who make it crystal clear that these are the non-negotiables. And if you're already in a relationship, it's the same thing. You can change the dynamic if you feel like you've gotten into this road where you didn't care about your own feelings and your own preferences and your own visions, and all these things have created a negative toll on the relationship. You become resentful, you're not happy, but at the same time, you're just being passive aggressive towards your partner. You're not saying, okay, these are the things I demand. And we don't do that, neither in relationships nor when we go on a first date, because we're so afraid of the consequences. We're afraid we're gonna go there and we're gonna say, well, I just want people who want to be in a relationship. Maybe let's see how it goes after a couple of dates, if we have things in common, if we have similar future plans, and then we take it from there. Same thing in relationships. We're scared to say these things because we're afraid that person isn't going to change. We're afraid that if we have those demands, that person will not like us anymore. Because how have we been taught our entire life? We have been taught that in order to have positive relationships, we have to focus on what that person wants and to give that to them and to understand them so well, like nobody else can understand them. And because of that, we get to create our relationship. But this is codependency one-on-one, and it's not just the other person's fault. We have to be the ones who take the risk, who say, I deserve to have a great relationship. And because I'm willing not to back down from this, I give the relationship the best possible chance it has. Because if I from the beginning think there's no way that person is ever going to do the things that I find necessary, then why even start it? You're already going towards a direction, telling yourself and the other person, I'm going for mediocrity here. I'm going for a life that is okay, because there's no way I could create these amazing things for myself. And don't get it twisted. Just because you have these great images in your head and you're all in your fantasy and you're all excited, that does not mean that this relationship is actually that great. Because what is great is your idea of the relationship, your vision. But how's the reality? Is that person really showing up for you? Is that person really seeing you for who you want to be and appreciating you for you loving yourself? Probably not. Most of the time we get obsessed with people, or we want a relationship to work and it's not, or it's not going in a direction we want. It's always an image we get attached to, not what the reality of the relationship really is. So take a stand for this. Commit to this. Know in your heart that this is something that you're not going to budge on, and you'll see how your entire life will change. Not just in that relationship, but with all relationships in your life. But as we all know, intimate relationships have the biggest impact on how we feel about ourselves and how we feel about our relationships altogether. Remember how we talked in the beginning that our first function is a perceiving function actually? So NI, meaning we love to contemplate, we love love to get into those visions. But we should give this vision some boundaries, not just towards the other person, but towards us. Why fantasize about something that isn't happening? Why fantasize about something that we're not actively going towards? I remember so many times when I had those visions and those great ideas about how great of a relationship I could have with that person, when I wasn't doing anything in real life to make it happen. It was just my NI. So how do we make that vision come to life? How do we make it happen that we really live that relationship that we love, that we date in a way that is fulfilling, that makes us feel we're being appreciated? We do that by setting those very strict boundaries in the beginning. You don't allow yourself to go fast forward and to get rather intimate mentally in order to bypass this phase where you have to stick to those boundaries. A lot of us do this because it's uncomfortable. I don't want to be in my boundaries all the time. I want to be relaxed. But because we're not strict enough with ourselves and the other person in the beginning, we're not allowing this relationship to have the impact that it could have. So the stricter you are with your boundaries, as in you know what you want, you know where you want to go in your life. So you know where you want to live, you know what kind of job you want to do, you know what kind of vocation you want to live out, how you want to show up in your world, and how you want to live. Are you somebody who loves to go out a lot? Are you somebody who loves to be at home and doesn't need that many social interactions, how so many INFJs of us do? Those are the things that have to be clear to us. Those are the things we have to stick to. Unless we make it about ourselves in the beginning, there's no way we can create this amazing harmony in the long term. Because as long as you're not showing that side of yours, which you do through expressing it through FE, meaning you show what is important to you, you show what you care about. You're not just focused on the other person. When you allow yourself to do this, you give this person the opportunity to see more of who you really are and to decide, am I willing and able to show up in a way how she or he needs it so we can have a great relationship? But because you're so afraid that that person won't be able to do it anyways, they won't be able to keep up, or we're too much for them, we're afraid of showing that part. We're afraid of being as much of ourselves as we could be. But the beginning phase, that is when we should do it the most. That is when we need to figure out, am I wasting my time with that person? Am I hiding parts of me? Maybe the fact that I like to talk about deep topics. This is something I have experienced so often. I kept it hidden and I thought, of course, the other person thinks about these things as well, but we're not talking about it. I kept it under wrap, thinking that this is too fast, this is too much. But there's a difference. I'm not putting that person into an emotional, vulnerable state by going and telling them all my deepest secrets. I just make them aware that I care about deep secrets, that I care about deep conversations, that this is important to me, but I stay in a boundary state. It's completely different than opening up completely, because when you do that, you go more into NI. And if you think about it, you're very much aware of the difference. We have to be strict with ourselves and with the other person of what we want, how we want it, and what we need in order to create great harmony in the long run. Because with time, that person also gets to know you. Remember, that person is probably not an INFJ. That person probably doesn't have such a good insight about who you are and what you need. And we think that person is just gonna figure it out by us not saying who we are and what we need. That's not possible. We're putting way too much pressure on that person. The stricter you are with those boundaries, as in you make it so clear who you are and what you want, the faster you're gonna drive away people who have no business of being in your life, who have no business of being a potential partner for you, because they are not on your level. They cannot keep up with you. Why waste your and their time by pretending you're less than you are? We're all very unique, and we have aspects of ourselves which are more intense than others. And as long as we keep those things hidden, we're wasting our time with people who won't be able to be the partner that we need. So I can only encourage you to look for that strength in yourself, to know that you deserve better, to know that you're lovable enough the way you are, that people who don't appreciate these parts of you don't have a place in your life. Because what is the alternative? What is the thing that I had been doing most of my 20s, what so many INFJs do as well? They subconsciously don't believe that they're worth loving the way they are, including their intensity, including their unique way of life. And because we feel we're not good enough, we're also okay with people in our life who also wouldn't be okay with those deepest parts of ourselves. We don't expect anything else from them because we're not even giving it to ourselves. But when we love ourselves, this is the difference. We know that those parts of us are amazing and they really give life something particular, something specific that makes it more worthwhile. And instead of hiding those parts because we're afraid most people won't be able to handle them, we should live them out. That's what I mean by boundaries. That's what I mean in the beginning of showing exactly who you are and not hiding those parts of you. That does not mean that you have to go on detail about all your personal problems in history, but it also means that you show those parts of you, those characteristics, those things that you live out day by day and that sometimes come out maybe only once a month, but that person can handle them. And you will do this because you know that you deserve to be loved by somebody just as much as you love yourself. This is something we do either way. If we love ourselves a lot or not, we can only accept people in our life who love us just as much as we love ourselves. So in order to change that pattern, you have to be the one who knows where your life wants to be. You have to be the one who's very well aware of your unique qualities, of those things that are different, of those things that maybe a lot of people can't handle. But the sooner you show them, the sooner you see the people who are not running away, who are not intimidated by it, who see and appreciate those parts of you instead of those who merely tolerate it, or we think if we just make it a little smaller, if we dim our light in that particular way, then we won't outshine them. This is what we keep doing over and over again because of fear. And it happens so easily and subconsciously if we allow our NI to go into dream mode. The beginning phases of a relationship are not that time. And if you want to change your dynamic in the relationship you already are in, this is also not the time to let your NI do all at once by itself. You have to be the one who sets those boundaries of NI, of how much you will allow it to dream, of how much you allow it to absorb that other person's preferences. It's on you to make a point. It's on you to set the tone and to say, this is where my life is moving forward. And it doesn't matter if you're in a relationship right now or looking for one. You are the one who sets the tone of where you want to go and how it's going to look like. And then you say, how can this person be part of my life and add to it? You will be able to create this great harmony within that relationship if you do that, because you already know that you're going to care about the other person. You already know that you're going to look at what they want and try to accommodate that as much as possible because it's in your nature. NI is in our nature. We fall into this one way or another. Just don't allow it to happen all at once and all in the beginning before you set those boundaries of where you want to be within that relationship. I really hope that helped you. Remember, you deserve all the love and appreciation in the world, and you have to be the one who demands it. Remember, if you want to take the next step in creating your epic life, then join the bootcamp or work with me privately. And if you want to watch another video now that is in alignment with today's topic, watch my video on how to choose a life partner wisely. Like always, guys, I wish you a wonderful day, a great week, and I talk to you next time. Bye.